Yeah. Um, and my details will be there in case they want to follow up later. How are you doing, Chamila?
Good, good.
How are the kids doing?
They're okay. Here it's really raining.
Oh, yeah, I was talking to my Tata and he was saying the same thing. I kept asking
Escuela
him.
te rain.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, thank you for organizing this.
Actually, I have shared it with a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I shared it with some of my friends as well. And sorry? Yeah. Okay. I'll get everything set up here. So mm, display setting, sort the views. Perfect. I'll keep this one. Yeah. All right. And I'm going to share the screen. Uh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Shan.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And you can see the screen, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you think I should start now, Chamila? It's
better.
five
Now
minutes.
we'll start.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, huge thanks to Chamila for helping organize this. This the theories of the theories behind the science of learning have been around for a very long time, but with the current generation of AIs, there's a whole lot more that we can do now than we could before when we did not have AI. So I wanted to cover some of these. Um, I Let me see. Yeah, I want to dedicate this to my mom. She was 100% educator at heart. She was a chemistry teacher at DMSNet College, which is where Chamila and I and some of our friends here went to school. And she was the president of the SARC Teachers Association and all of that. Uh, and this was a talk that we've been planning to do for a long time, but we could not because Amma got sick and she couldn't attend. So I thought I'd continue and complete this talk and try to carry on the mission that Amma has been focused on, which is educating teachers and bringing them up to speed with current technology and all of that. All right. Why do I care about this topic? I care about this because I teach students in my profession. I'm an associate professor at Virginia Commonwealth University School of Pharmacy. I am a researcher, but I'm not a educational researcher talking about research. These are actually the same pedagogical framework that I apply in my classroom. Now, in order to implement these, I built my own AI learning tools for my own classroom. I've so far built, these are some other ones I built: Farm Tutor AI, Gene Counsel AI, Adapt Learn, which is an interesting one that uses knowledge tracing, knowledge space theory, and graph theory to create customized learning paths for students. So everything I show you today, in one form or another, I'm actually um, using. Except that the technology is slightly different. So I'm trying to adapt the technology to fit Sri Lanka. But everything that I'm showing you today are things that I'm doing. Then the Agile framework uh, is a new pedagogical approach that I've developed. And this framework is for integrating AI into active learning. And we can talk about this more if you guys are interested. All right. So here's the central question. Why do students who study for hours still fail? I'm pretty sure every one of you who's an educator knows of at least one student like this. They sit there, they spend hours and hours studying, and when it's time to take the exam, their grades do not reflect the amount of studying that they've done. It's because they are not studying the most productive way. Most of the time, we feel productive if we study according to a certain pattern, but although we feel productive, it is not being productive. What feels productive? You have your notes and you keep rereading the notes. You are highlighting them. You are watching tutorials. You are copying notes. I mean, I was one of these people who studied like this. By the time I'm done highlighting the notes, අර ලංකාවේ වෙසක් තොරණක් වගේ notes tier, right? But I can recall the colors. I can't recall the material that was there. Now, this is what feels productive, but it's not actually productive. What is harder, but actually works, is just closing the books. Once you've done your initial reading and initial review, closing the books and attempting questions, struggling to recall, getting things wrong, getting the wrong answer actually is helpful because it helps you understand why you got that answer wrong, what is wrong with your frame of what is wrong with how you think and all of that. And then spacing out review, and we'll cover this in more detail in a bit. All right. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to talk about the 7 principles from cognitive research that actually work. This has like over 50 years worth of evidence behind it. I also want to briefly talk about the shift. What AI have allowed you to do now is kind of shifting our traditional role as teachers, and I will briefly touch upon that. And then finally, I want to show a workflow that will work in Sri Lanka. It is the same workflow that I use here, except I use different technologies to make it happen. All right, what are the 7 principles? One is retrieval practice, space practice, interleaving, elaboration, generation, reflection, and calibration. Some of these we have known for a while. For example, retrieval practice, space practice, those things we knew for a while. Things like interleaving, elaboration, maybe. Generation, reflection, calibration, also maybe. But we haven't put them together in a single package to harness the enhanced learning that all 7 principles provide. I'll go through them one by one. Retrieval practice. This is the one that we are most used to. What retrieval practice is? Trying to pull information out than trying to put more information in. If you think about this, if you take your notes and start highlighting it, you're technically putting more information in. But what's more important is, the parts that you highlighted, can you recall them? Can you pull them out? Is there a way that you can actually better pull out that information? Examples are, past papers or new questions generated from past papers. And once you've done your first round of studying, you're attempting them without your notes, right? Everything's closed, you're going to try it. Before any review, you're going to try it. And you're going to get quite a bit wrong. But that experience of getting it wrong and then finding out why you got them wrong is what enhances learning. Each retrieval that you practice strengthen the memory trace that rereading just will not. If you reread a chapter 5 times, it might feel productive. but it does not move the needle in terms of being able to remember the material as well as retrieval practice. All right. The second principle is space practice. There's an actual equation for this that models how you forget over time. Space practice is your spacing study over days, weeks, instead of cramming for exams. And topics that might be from term one can resurface as 5-minute starters in term three, right? Or what you studied today is gonna be revised and renewed every third day, every fifth day, every seventh day, and so on until you reach a certain level of mastery. Because it's important to allow time to forget. Forgetting between sessions is where the learning actually happens. When you forget and you retrieve that memory again, those neural paths strengthen, right? So space practice is all about giving yourself time to forget and then relearning it. Third principle is interleaving, mixing problem types than just blocking them by type. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you learn something in biology and then you learn something in chemistry, right? There are certain aspects of chemistry and biology that can be interleaved. So, for example, biochemistry is also covered in biology, right? You can interleave them. By interleaving them, you are now strengthening your memory across multiple different domains. These recall cards are now spread over multiple different domains of your memory, right? You have more recall cards that you can call upon. You can call up the recall card from biology, or you can call up the recall card from biochemistry because you have interleaved that material. And you also learn to discriminate. The discrimination skill is important because most of the time examinations test this discrimination skill. Yeah. Then the fourth principle is elaboration, basically explaining concepts in your own words. And this is where the AI has become super handy because you can go back and forth with an AI trying to understand this. What do I mean by that? Um, hey, you just learned the principles of biochemistry. Now, explain it as if you would to a 10-year-old. You are now forced to take the material and not just regurgitate it, but actually think about it, create something with it, simplify it, and explain it, right? This exercise helps. This exercise helps a lot because it's a form of recall, it's a form of spaced repetition, but it's also a form of expanding on what you have already learned. This elaboration practice builds mental scaffolding that marking schemes will reward, like linkage, application, and depth. All right, fifth one, generation. Attempt the problem before being shown the solution. What do I mean by that? Hand out a past paper, just cold. Students attempt it for 10 minutes and then model the answers. See how well they did. See what they got wrong and let them understand why they got them wrong. What were the underlying assumptions that were wrong that led them to getting the answer wrong? The struggle primes the brain to absorb the explanation and in doing so, create lasting memories. Then retrieval practice 6 is reflection. Look back on what you did. What worked? What didn't work? And why? Again, trying to understand the concept of what did I get wrong? Why did I get it wrong? What was my underlying assumption that was wrong that led me to the wrong answer? So after every mock, you can ask the question, did I lose marks on this type of error? What type of error? What is my knowledge gap? What didn't I understand? It is one of the lowest cost and higher yield habits that your students can cultivate. And the final one is calibration. check what you actually know against what you think you know, right? Students self-mark against marking schemes before the teacher marks, right? Again, trying to find out what did I know and what did I not know? And where you have like close answers, all right, what is my reasoning behind picking this answer versus this answer, right? Just calibrating your knowledge against a benchmark. Now, when Chamila and I were talking, we were initially planning this for the Cambridge exam, but the principles kind of are the same across the board, whether it's the Cambridge exam, the Sri Lankan exam, university studying, and all of that. The seven principles are core, right? Now, I said that these seven principles have been around for a very long time. But why do I think that this is the right time to actually put them into practice? Well, this is the time when connectivity to the internet is no longer a bottleneck, right? Sri Lanka had 100%, almost 100% 4G coverage nationally, and we have 5G, commercial 5G is launched in December, I think. Students have access to all this technology through their phones. Yeah. So the devices and the network speeds are no longer bottlenecks. Now the bottleneck is not the technology, it's these habits that the students have to cultivate and the habits that we as educators need to help our students cultivate. And this last one is interesting. WhatsApp. Everyone uses WhatsApp, right? It's a common channel. Students use it, parents use it, Medicare providers use it. And this channel can be harnessed properly in order to apply these seven principles. Yeah. All right. So far, so good, guys. I am going a little bit fast, but because this is
Yes.
recorded, you'll be able to take a look at it. Yeah, good, Chamila?
Yes. Fine.
All right. Now, this is the central pivot I want to talk about. Our role as educators are changing. It used to be us as teachers were in charge of creating the knowledge for the students, right? We were the primary source of explanation. We had to teach to the middle of the bell curve because we did not have time to teach those who are lagging, or we did not have the space to work with those who are ahead, right? So the leading edge of the bell distribution got bored, the trailing edge got left behind, and we could only do one explanation per concept, and essentially it was all on us, right? Well, what happened with this new generation of AIs, they have the knowledge. All the knowledge is there, right? All the way through graduate school, the knowledge that you need to learn is there. So if we are not the knowledge providers, what is our new role? Our new role is acting as learning architects. We are in charge of creating the habits, creating the paths that allow students to learn better, right? In this age, AI is the on-demand knowledge source. You design the learning path. Student ask AI for explanations in any style that they need. You have the freedom to identify who's struggling and intervene with targeted help. You let students who master material move ahead, and you become more efficient learning manager than was possible before. This is the creative aspect of teaching that I love. I hate sitting in front of a classroom and giving a lecture. When I look around, some of the students are on WhatsApp, some of the students are on Instagram, they are not paying attention and all of that. But by becoming a learning architect, I can tap into the creative part of what it is to be an educator and come up with come up with solutions to problems that allow me to better educate students. Yeah. So we stop being the bottleneck on knowledge transfer. but we essentially become the bottleneck on something more valuable: judgment about what each student needs next. All right, so this is the technology stack I propose, and a different version of this stack exists in my lab and in my classes, but this stack is a close approximation of that. The Google stack focus on Notebook LM, Google Forms, and Google Sheets. WhatsApp becomes the delivery channel. Now, something to say here: if your institution has a Google institutional accounts, you guys have access to Google Chat. If you have Google Chat and your students use Google Chat, that works much better than WhatsApp. But if you don't have, then WhatsApp is a great channel because that's where you push forms, link to the class, and schedule messages and all of that. Then for the student side dialogue, we had to, there are multiple AI tools that are available, the free tiers of Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, and all of that. And also a tool that I highly recommend you take a look at. It's called openrouter.ai, and I'll give you a quick example at the end. What it allows you to do is the state-of-the-art models, they're great, but they're a complete overkill for a good part of the educational tasks that we have. What OpenRouter does is it allows you to access these free models at a fraction of the cost of the state-of-the-art models. And those are just as good, right? For the tasks that we need to undertake. All right. Now, where does the content come from? If you already have your PowerPoints, lecture notes, and all of that, you have your content. But the thing to keep in mind is we cannot upload any copyrighted content to things like Notebook LM, right? And this includes endorsed Cambridge textbooks and all of that. Now, when you look at the Sri Lankan national curriculum, I was able to dig around and find some other textbooks that are available. This e-Takshila and all of that are pretty rough as a platform and quite inconsistent, but with a bit of effort, you'd be able to find the textbooks. And I'm not sure whether the teachers actually handed the textbooks to begin with. If you guys have these textbooks, that's great. For the Cambridge curriculum, if you have your own material, you can upload them to Notebook LM. If you don't, you can get AI to write the material. Essentially, give it the Cambridge syllabus and tell it, based on this, write me a chapter for these first parts of the syllabus. Yeah. And once you create that content, you can upload that to Notebook LM. All right. Now the workflow, there are two loops: the teacher architect path, where you are sourcing the material, uploading them to Notebook LM, generating 10 quiz questions or 20 or 30, picking the best ones and building them into a Google form. And then you can share this form link in WhatsApp and you can schedule those messages. So you can, the first quiz goes on day 1, the second one in day 3, the third one in day 7, and all of that. So you are essentially doing the spaced repetition part of it by sending these Google forms which have your quizzes in there. Yeah. Now, students learning with AI, they will receive the link. They will take the quiz, and often I try to delay the answer until the next day, giving them some time to struggle with the answers. And if they got errors, they can go back and forth with an AI to find out, okay, what were my assumptions that were wrong that led to the wrong answer, right? Okay. And I'm reiterating this for the teachers: textbook, Notebook LM, quiz items, Google Form, WhatsApp schedule. And since the Google Forms comes into a actual spreadsheet, you can run analytics on it, identifying which students are performing well, which students are not performing well, right? And I typically have this set up as a schedule to follow on certain days. And Sunday is when I'm typically generating all of these. Monday to Friday, I just keep an eye on this sheet. And mid of the week, I will struggle. I will try to message the students who are struggling and asking, hey, you need help. Do you need help? Yeah. Now, something I've seen, right? And this is where it becomes important. When you submit a quiz, what's to prevent the student from just asking an AI the answer and then using that answer, right? So what ends up happening here is from take-home quizzes, students look great, but we need an independent metric to see if they're actually doing the quiz the right way. So I always dedicate the first 15 minutes of my class to give a in-class quiz that is proctored, and they're not going to be able to use AI for that. The in-class quiz is basically a calibration for me. So if they have high in class and high take home, great. This is the ideal student, right? We can let them accelerate. If they have high in class and low in take home, these are the test day learners. Typically, they will be cramming just before class in order to um, get things done. Yeah. If they are low in class and high in take home, yeah, there's a cheating or a fluency illusion here. You need to have a one-on-one conversation with this student. Then low in class and low take home, right? This group, these are the students that are struggling. And you really need to sit down with them and help them out. Yeah. All right. For the students, the 3-minute habit. Link arrives, tap the link, complete the form, right? 5 questions, 10 questions. You decide how much is needed. Submit, and then back to WhatsApp to do whatever the things that they've been doing on WhatsApp anyways, right? Keeping them small, keeping them engaging. Don't do like 1 hour. Once try to fit it inside the daily schedule of the students so they don't get overwhelmed. Yeah. And next day they see the correct answers. If they get some wrong, they can go back and forth with an AI to get answers. All right. Now, what about students and AIs? Uh, the way I've set it up, these all these are enabled without the students actually seeing that the hidden messages that instruct the AI how to behave. But students can do this on their own. They can ask the AI to become a Socratic tutor in the sense that don't give me answer, ask me questions until I figure it out. If I'm wrong, ask the question that reveals my error, right? This is the student is telling the AI to become a Socratic tutor. An adaptive learner. Explain this as if to a 5-year-old, then on to undergraduate, then to a PhD. I'll tell you which level clicked. This is where when students are struggling with a concept and they're like, I'm still not getting it, you can ask the AI, hey, explain this to me as a 5-year-old, as you would to a 5-year-old. The Feynman check. I'm going to explain what I learned in my own words. Tell me what's wrong, missing, or oversimplified. Don't give me a better version. Just point out the holes, right? This is the calibration thing. Okay, I think I learned, I think I understand, but did I actually learn it right? And you can use this check with an AI to see if you learn right. The debate partner. I think I'm going to take this position that fossil fuels are good for the world. I don't know. Argue the opposing view, and we are going to go back and forth on a debate. This is critical thinking at play, forcing the student to think outside the box and come up with new ways of framing what they have learned. Then comes the gap analyzer. Here are 5 questions I got wrong. Identify exactly which subtopics I haven't mastered and drill me on each one until I get this right. Right? Then the sixth one, interleaved quizzer. Generate 6 questions mixing topics from chapters 3, 5, and 7. Don't reveal answers until I attempt all of them. Then tell me which topics I am weakest in. Allows the student to identify where they are not getting things right and go and study that section instead of trying to study the whole chapter. Mark schema simulator, score my answers using the Cambridge A-level marking scheme criteria. Tell me where I mark, where I lose marks or and why. And then the concept connector. How does today's topic connect to prior topic that was learned? Show me 3 specific links. So essentially, the students have AIs to apply and learn. What we have as educators need to teach them is how to apply these and learn. Yeah. If there's one thing that you want to hand it to the students, it's this one. All right. Okay. So I'll do an actual walk through this. So I'm not going to go through this in detail. Right. So the workflow is this: Google form, retrieval, calibration, spaced, right? Spaced repetition. All of these can be done with Google form. WhatsApp schedule messages allows you to distribute this spaced repetition and interleaving. The sheets monitoring allows you to see how the students are doing with reflections and allow you to calibrate. Proctored verified quiz allows you to calibrate how the students are doing and if there's any cheating going on and all of that. The 8 chat prompts, these are all related to the 7 principles that the students can use. And the notebook LM moves are also related to the 7 principles. Now, 3 pitfalls to avoid. Because it's so easy to generate content, we have so many videos, podcasts, video podcasts, and all of that. But they're all the same. It's just listening and just like reading the chapter again and again, right? There is a certain amount of it that is needed. But the moment you have gone through the first pass, you have to start applying the 7 learning principles if you really want to learn. The other pitfall is students just using AI as the answer vending machine. Right? Hey, I had this question. What's the answer? All right, here's the answer. I'm done. No. Again, no learning there. Pitfall for the teachers, try not to architect every class at once. Take time to play around with these concepts, find out what works for you. Each of our teaching approaches or educational approaches are different. What works for me may not work for you. So you'll have to find your own path. And these are just the tools that are available. And if there are some things that you can do today, it's that. Pick a chapter, source your content, build one notebook LM, generate 5 questions, right? Schedule form link via WhatsApp, plan a proctored verification, and share that slide 23, I think, with your students. All right. So the next part is going to be basically demonstrations. So yeah, actually, 2 other tools that you can use. Don't recommend them because you really don't need them. These are like overkills, but some students are actually very gung-ho about their learning. So if they want, these would be 2 tools that you can use. But a good number of them can be bypassed just by using Notebook LM. All right. I'm going to stop here and move to the demonstration side of it. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's start. I am going to stop the presentation. Let's get that down. All right, let's start. Let me pull this up. Now, one thing I didn't do, I'm going to stop sharing for a bit because I don't think I shared some. Let's try this again. Share settings. All right. They share in the same screen. Sharing sound. Okay. You guys still see my screen, right? Let's start with Notebook LM. Biology. This is for the Sri Lankan subject stream. And I found these two resources. Actually, is Shalika still here? I thought I saw Shalika here. Oh, maybe not. Um, I think Shalika is one of the authors of this. What can we do with this, right? Now, this is not properly assembled because these are just entire books. Ideally, you would want to split this down into individual chapters, right? You can create audio views, slide decks, video views, mind maps, and all of that. But I want to show you the flashcard angle. Now, this would be great for spaced repetition or retrieval practice and all of that. Because when you have these flashcards, and students can set this up, right? They can continue to check if their knowledge is accurate, right? So the flashcard function is super useful. Now, the other function that I really like is the mind map. This helps me kind of walk through the chapters in a different way, right? If I'm looking at the introduction to biology, definitions, study of living organisms, and here it's pulling actually from the material. Interesting about Notebook LM, they always pull from the source material that you give. There's no generative angle to it, so there's never any hallucination or barely any hallucination, right? So right now what it's doing is it's going through all of this. Actually, this might be because each book is a whole year's worth of work, it has to go through all of that. Yeah. But I'll skip that for now. Now, this is the English medium, right? But what's interesting is the translation capabilities of these models. Here's a video generated that demonstrates the translation capabilities of Notebook LM, in the sense that the language itself that the source material is written in is no longer relevant. I think I'm asking it to do too many things. But I want you to listen to a little bit of this just to get a sense of how the translation is. So this is the English version of the biology notebook, and this AI generated Sinhala translation of that.
අයිබෝවන් අද අපි මේ විවරණයෙන් කතා කරන්න යන්නේ ලංකාවේ ජීවවිද්‍යා අධ්‍යාපන පද්ධතිය ඇතුලේ මෑතකදී සිද්ධ වුණු සම්පත් පොතත් එක්ක සමස්ත අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රියාවලියම කොහොමද ප්‍රමිතිගත වුණේ කියලා අපි දැන් බලමු. කලින් තිබුණු තත්ත්වයයි අලුත් තත්ත්වයයි සංසන්ධනය කරලා
Anyway,
බැලු
I'll let you guys play around with these. All these tools are freely available for you. The free version of Notebook LM is actually allows you to upload up to 50 resources. So please take time to play around with these. Now, the other interesting is a quizzes. Did I not have quizzes here? Yeah, there's a different textbook. But here are some of the quizzes. Students can generate the quizzes on their own. You can generate the quizzes and send it to the students. And in this one, you get immediate feedback, right? I don't like this immediate feedback aspect of it because if the student immediately knows what's wrong and what's right, they don't take time to figure out, okay, I got this wrong, but which one is the right answer, right? So that's a quiz aspect of it. Anything else? I mean, at this point, just upload the sources and play around with this. For those of you who are teaching Cambridge curriculum, the sources might be a little bit tricky. But if you guys have your slides and all of that, you can definitely use it. Now, another thing you can do is once you create this notebook, you can share it with your students, right? And the students will get view rights to it. But the sharing aspect of Notebook LM has been a little bit troublesome in the past. So I'm not sure if this would work. As far as deploying this in a classroom, you can either try the sharing or give the material to the students so they can populate their own Notebook LMs. Yeah. And then you test if they're learning by submitting Google Forms that they need to take the quizzes and send them back. Yeah. Now, let's look at Google Forms. Google Forms have come a long way as well. Let's check some things out. I'm going to use this because it's a well thought out chapter. And I need to create a Google form here. So I go to Google Forms. And there are interesting ways of doing this. So I can say something like, I want to create a quiz interleaving at chapter 1 and at I don't know, let's say chapter 10. I need 20 quiz questions. So because this is AI enabled, the AI itself is creating the questions now. Now, questions may not be exactly the way you want them, so you can go and modify them, edit them, and all of that. But it's so easy to create the quizzes now, right? Remember I said chapter 1 and chapter 10? So that's probably a bad example. But so here are the quizzes that you have. And for responses, I'm going to ask you to link to a sheet, create a new spreadsheet, create, right? There it is. And then I'm going to take this quiz, publish. Yeah, respond as anyone with the link, publish. And copy the link. Then I go to WhatsApp. That's my WhatsApp. So, too much stuff on my computer. There we go. All right. Go to WhatsApp and tell them, please do this quiz by the end of today. Yeah, good. And I send it out. So here I can add my class, whoever I want into my class, right? And that's it. So you are kind of tapping into the same channel the students are spending an ungodly number of hours on. And you're using that as the delivery mechanism for them to do these quizzes. And as long as the quizzes are short enough, you can increase the frequency. But the quizzes themselves are, if they're short, the students will do it. If they're long quizzes, that's when they're like, nah, I need to study for this and all of that. Yeah. So that's kind of the life cycle here. And then the last thing I want to show you is this, which is, remember I told you about Open Router? Now, you can create an account and you get like a $1 credit for that and all of that if you do it. Now, ChatGPT costs $20 a month. Actually, all of them cost $20 a month. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all of them cost $20 a month. But within Open Router, as long as you have an account with them, there are some models that you can get for free. For example, Gemma 4 31 billion parameter model is one of the best performing in terms of graduate level educations of the free models, right? Then you probably have heard of other models like what is this Chinese model? I can't remember, but all these models are available.
DeepSeek?
DeepSeek,
You mean?
thank you.
Yeah.
So all the DeepSeek models are available now. And these are actually really cheap compared to what you would have to pay if you're gonna use a state-of-the-art model or you're trying to host this yourself, right? And let's go back to Gemma. Gemma. This was a conversation I was having with Gemma because I was kind of uncertain what their training data is like. And I asked it, hey, are you familiar with this book, Make It Stick? And it came up with this answer, yes, familiar with this book, The Science of Successful Learning, and this is where the 7 learning principles come from. So that gives me a lot of confidence that I can use Gemma in order to create my quizzes or in order to brainstorm. And this is essentially a free model right now on Open Router. Yeah. And so highly recommend this. And even for students, like a couple of dollars will take you a long way. I know that I loaded $20 about 6-7 months ago, and I don't use it that often, but still it still got $17 left here. So it's a good alternative to the state-of-the-art models as long as you have an understanding of how good the different models are. And that's just basically a Google question. What is the best state-of-the-art model for if you say undergraduate education, you'll come up with a list. And then you go to OpenRoute AI, pick that model, and then students can use that as their learning partner if they already don't have ChatGPTs, Claudes, and Geminis. All right, I wanted to leave some time for questions. So I am going to stop sharing and happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Regarding these 7 principles of learning,
Yeah,
actually, we have come across Bloom's taxonomy and whatnot, but not this as like 7 principles. Maybe individually we have come across, but not
yeah.
in I mean, you mentioned the source as well. Is it well established back in the US? So,
Yes.
what is? Uh-huh.
So this book, Make It Stick, came out in the 1980s. And the three authors, I think Rodinger's one of them, they between them had like 50 years worth of learning science research behind them. Now, that book has been kind of on the back burner for a long time because in order to apply these 7 principles before the AI era was a lot of work for educators, right? Because you had to do it manually. You had to do the quizzes manually and pushing everything manually and all of that. What happened now, because the AIs are also aware of this application, you can just ask AIs to create, hey, based on these 7 principles, create me these quizzes, right? And it will do that for you. The Bloom's taxonomy and all of that are good in terms of hierarchical or structure in the hierarchical learning, but they don't give you an actual principle or like a learning science based principle that you can apply to help students learn better. And these 7 principles, we use it all the time in our education, and this is kind of what we base a good number of our pedagogical architecture on. So yeah, the principles have been around for a long time. It's just that implementing them have not been easy before AIs came about. Does that make sense?
Of course, total sense. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Chamila, how about your group? Do you guys have any questions?
I think first of all, we had to try it out and see because we haven't tried this notebook. We didn't use it so far.
Yeah,
So first of all, I think we had to try it out, and now you have given us some insight to uh, how we can use it. So
yeah,
I also have some ideas of how to use to my students. Then later on, I'll come back to you.
yeah, absolutely. And guys, Chamila, you're absolutely right. Once you see something like that, you will something like this, and you get some ideas. It's those ideas are more in line with how you teach, right? So don't um, put a lot of weight into those ideas because they will align really well with how you teach and your pedagogical approach. And absolutely, guys, these are free tools. Just upload a few things and play around with it, and you'll see that there's a lot that can be done. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, then I am going to stop recording. And once everything's processed, probably by the end of today, I will send this to, who do I send this to? That's a good question. Uh, Priyanka, I'll send it to you if you want to distribute it among your crowd. And Shamila, if I send it to you, will you be able to distribute to the friends that you forwarded this to?
Yes, sure.
Sure. Yeah, that works.
All right.